How about now?
Nope.
Oh,
There you are. There we go.
Oh, perfect. Hello.
Hello.
All right.
How are you guys?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks for coming on.
Yep. So we'll introduce you first.
Yeah,
Do you want to
absolutely.
introduce Stu?
All the way over from Canada, from the show Pink is In, it's Sarah Hime.
The reason Stu's introducing you is I
Because
always
I never get the
names
chance
wrong.
to do it, that's why.
I always get names wrong. So we'll get straight into it. So you're not just an actor, are you? You're a teacher as well.
Yeah, I work a lot with kids in arts education programs. So I do, I directed musical theater performances with like a youth theater company for several years, and have done other extracurricular arts programs like that. And I'm an acting coach is a lot of what I do now, primarily with young actors, either new actors or like youth and teen actors who are maybe auditioning for theater school, or they're auditioning for an arts program or a show. So both professionally and maybe for more amateur auditions as well. So that's one of the things that I do kind of on the side of acting when I'm not in a gig.
Right.
Yeah.
What age range is that? What you teach?
You know, it's kind of a wide range. When I was directing, I was working with kids that were sort of like 7 or 8, all the way up to 18, because our programs ran, the full gamut from like kids to teens. I find now, as an acting coach, most of the time I'm working with students who are either they're trying to get into an arts high school, so they might be in that like 12 or 13 age as they're trying to audition for a high school program, or older students who maybe are like 16, 17, 18 and are starting to think about doing this as a career, and they're doing auditions and they want some coaching and some help for their auditions. So, but it's great because I've gotten to work with a very wide range of ages, which is really fun.
Have any of your students gone on to be successful?
Yeah, actually, yes. I've had a couple students who were auditioning for arts high school programs that coached with me beforehand and got into the program. So that was like awesome. And then a couple of the students that I've coached more recently for professional auditions for like film and television. I don't know if the last couple booked the role, but one of them had gotten a callback for the role. So that was really exciting. So yeah, it's very fulfilling to be able to pass on some knowledge from my experience, and then for them to be successful. Yeah, it's really great.
Brilliant.
I noticed there's a keyboard in the background, so are you a bit of a musician as well?
A little bit, yes. I do play the piano. I actually kind of got into acting through doing other arts as a kid, and one of the first things I started doing was piano. So I do play piano. A little bit less well now because I don't practice as consistently as I did back in the day. But I do play piano and I sing. So I always say I'm an actor first. Like that's really my main skill and what I do the most of. But because I do have some, musical abilities too, I get to do musicals every now and again. Or if I need to sing for an audition, I can, play something for myself on the piano and learn a song. And I actually also help coach students. Like I used to direct musicals. So I used to teach a lot of vocals to the kids in the shows that we were doing. So I'd be teaching singing or teaching like the choral pieces and helping them learn them, and sometimes coaching them on singing auditions as well. So
yeah.
Good stuff. Well, quite a bit of an all-rounder really, aren't you?
Well, thank you. I try. It's helpful in this career to have a few different things to do. You're always trying to find your next gig, your next thing.
Yeah.
So.
In any of the shows that you're in, do you get involved in the music side of it as well, with the arrangements, or have you?
Oh, that's a great question. In the work that I've done, film and television wise, actually, now that I think about it, no, I'm thinking back. Most of the shows that I've done where there was music, I was just the performer in that show, so I didn't do very much on the arrangement side of it. But actually, when I was directing the musicals that I was directing with the youth company, we put on like some pretty. It's an amazing company called Innovative Arts, and we put on some like pretty full scale musicals, like because they hire all of their staff are professionals, so we're all either professional actors, professional designers, directors, etc. So I used to, when we were putting on those shows, I did quite a lot of work with the music team on those shows, because I was one of the I had a co-director, but I was really the person who knew more about the music end. So I would kind of help our music director make those arrangements, and I would try to kind of use my knowledge both as a director and as a musician, but as a performer, like as someone who has had to learn music for a show, and as someone who was trying to teach that music to kids, to kind of help develop a little bit of a new system of how we were going to print the sheet music, and how are we going to indicate things on the page, and what parts do we need to cut because they're too hard, and what parts do we think are perfect for the kids and they'll be able to handle this. So I did kind of have a bit more of a hand, more when I was on the production side. Like when I was a director, I was doing more with the music stuff than when I'm just on set or in a show as a performer, if that makes sense.
Right. Have you done any theatre stuff with Darren Stewart-Jones? Because I believe he does theatre as well.
He does. I've never done anything yet with Darren, but we have something upcoming. Actually, we're taking Pink is In to the stage.
Oh, right.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah.
That's new.
We're doing. It's called Pink is In Live, and we're doing sort of a short show in the Hamilton Fringe Festival. So we're taking it, and it's actually a lot of content that is in the series that we're sort of rearranging. Darren and the team and Kim, our writer from the show, they kind of work together to put it together to be on stage.
Okay.
So I'm very excited, because you're right. I know Darren has done a ton of theater, and we met through Pink is In. So this is the first time I've worked with him, but I'm very excited to get to work with him and everybody in a theater capacity now. So it'll be cool.
Oh, brilliant.
So do you know anything about when season 2 and 3 will be available in UK? Because I've just finished season 1, and now I've got no more to watch.
Sort of, you're like, what is happening? So it's kind of funny. So in Canada on Bell, it's actually like mini seasons. So we're on season 3, because Bell has us do these like 4 episode seasons. But what you have in the UK is actually seasons 1 and 2.
Oh, right.
And what's going to happen is, so I hear the episodes that make season 3 in Canada are going to complete your full season 1 on Amazon Prime. And I think, if I hear correctly, I think that these 12 episodes were originally written to be one season.
Right.
And then just based on the way that Bell does their content, they do these shorter seasons instead. So they kind of split it up into 3 small seasons.
Right.
But what you're going to get on Amazon Prime is going to be one full 12 episode season.
So I've watched 2 seasons.
Yes, you have. Which I know is like, every time I'm trying to post or share about it, I'm like, it's season 3 here, but it's season 1 in Prime, but it's the same. It's very, it's kind of funny, but yes. So you've seen 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And I think, from what I've seen, it looks like you're going to get the remaining episodes in June. So not too far off.
Well, sticking with the Pink is In theme, explain your character.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Who is she? Where did she come from?
I play Kitty Cat. And Kitty Cat is sassy and feisty and very interesting. She's in prison, not to do a spoiler alert, but you find out pretty early on in the first season that she is there for murder. She did kill her husband. He made some unfortunate remarks about her fashion choices. It did not end well for him. So that is Kitty Cat. And it's super fun. I love the character. I love the show. So it's been very fun.
I won't say nothing about the top you're wearing then.
Exactly. It's my Pink is In shirt. So don't mess with me and my fashion, or it might end, might not end well for you either.
So the prison that you're in on that, is that a real prison?
This is a great question. It's not a prison.
Right.
It's actually, we film in a studio. It's called Hamilton Film Studios. And it's like this big, I want to say, I think it's like an abandoned warehouse, essentially, that then the city of Hamilton turned into this place that you can rent for filming.
Right.
But it happens to have prison cells. I think that it had been used by a previous show, and I can't remember now what it was, but it has 4 or 5 prison cells built in as part of the set there.
Yeah.
So we film everything that happens in the prison. We film at Hamilton Film Studios. So the prison cells are there, but there's also the offices that the warden and the guards use. Yeah. And then also all the kind of other hallways and rooms, the canteen where we have the scenes in the kitchen, like that's all in the Hamilton Film Studio. And the building itself, it's kind of perfect for our prison because it is like falling apart. It is like decrepit in there. Actually, when we filmed the last season, there was a scene where we had to go out a door, and the door we went through actually went into a stairwell. But I don't know what is the deal with that stairwell. I don't think it's ever been cleaned in 30 years because it is like dirt and dust and crumbling cement. And it's like, and I actually got something stuck in my contact lens. We did a scene, we ran out the door, and then I was trying to be quiet because they hadn't called a cut yet, but I had like a rock in my eye or something. So it's a kind of a funny place to shoot for that reason. There's a couple of spaces that they use for other like studio spaces and things that are a little bit nicer, but they've left some of the rooms more crumbling, which is perfect because our prison is supposed to be falling apart. So that's a big selling point for us shooting there. But yeah, it's not a real prison.
Right.
So it gives you more of an authentic atmosphere when you're filming the episodes.
It does. It really does, because I think so much of what we talk about is about the problems facing the prison. We have no money. And then there's all those scenes, like even in this, I do this big rant close to the beginning of season 2 in the second episode about how the prison is falling apart and how terrible it is. And it's not a lie. I'm describing the real atmosphere there. So it definitely helps.
Yeah. So when you applied for Kitty Cat, did you apply for any other roles in Pink Is In?
No.
Or just the one?
Good question. I actually just Kitty Cat. What happened actually is that Lisa Crawford, who is the creator of the show, who also plays Nesrenko on the show.
Yeah.
I had worked with her several years ago. She produced and directed a short film called Death Game. It was like a short horror thriller genre short film. Yeah. And I had auditioned for her and booked a role in that. So I'd worked with her in, I think it was 2018. And it was a great experience. Lisa is awesome. And it was a super fun shoot. And so then a couple years later, Lisa and I were connected on Facebook, and I saw her post online about having a show that had been greenlit by Bell. And so I sort of took a leap, and I was like, this sounds very cool. And Lisa is the nicest person and has such a vision for the projects that she's working on. Yeah. Like, she is awesome. So I was like, I would love to work with Lisa again. So I just went out on a limb and I sent her a message on Facebook and said, I saw that you had this project greenlit by Bell. That's really cool. I wonder if you're still auditioning for the show. Like, I'd love to audition if you have any roles open. And she got back to me right away and was like, yep, why don't I, she called me, and then we talked a little bit about the project. And she was like, why don't I connect you with Darren, who is our casting director? And then she said, Darren had actually seen you in Death Game when he came to see the show a couple of years ago. And he mentioned that he liked your work in Death Game. And I was like, cool. Right. Oh my gosh, great. This might work out. And hopefully he liked my work. And so then Darren, sure enough, got in touch with me a couple of days later and said, here's the material for Kitty Cat. Do you want to send in a self-tape? So I actually self-taped the very first scene where we see Kitty Cat explaining how she murdered her husband and why she ended up in prison. That's the scene I shot for my audition. I did a self-tape, submitted it, and then a few weeks later I heard that I got the role. So yeah, Kitty Cat's the only role that I auditioned for. It was the one that they had sent me to audition for and send a self-tape. So, and the rest is history.
Brilliant.
How long does it normally take you to do a self-tape? Because I've done a self-tape myself and it takes forever. I No, it's not good enough. Delete. Try again.
It's so true. You know, it kind of depends, I guess, a little bit on what type of audition it is. I find that if it's something where there's, like Pink is in, where I was auditioning with a scene where I had lines to learn and it was a little bit more intensive that way. Yeah. That takes a little bit longer because you've got lines to learn and you're trying to develop a character and whatnot. Yeah. And so that might take longer. If it's something for like a commercial where maybe you don't even have any lines, you're just reacting to something. And so you just have to get a take of you reacting. That's a little quicker, but it honestly kind of depends on when it's due. I find that sort of determines how long it's going to take for me to get it done because I've got a deadline. Right. So, for the last show that I auditioned for that was a TV series, that took me about just under a week to prepare for because I got it on like a Tuesday, but it wasn't due until the next Monday. And it was 4 scenes. I had to learn 4 scenes and film them, and that took a long time because they were long scenes too, and there was 4 of them, and it was so many lines. And so I kind of broke it up. Like each day I would learn a new scene and try to really, learn the lines, but get a sense of the character and what am I trying to do in the scene and like what am I doing overall. And then I would learn one and then film it at night when my husband came home and he could read the lines for me for the other character. And then that one it was because it was complicated. I saw my acting coach for some help too. So I worked on the next 3 scenes over a couple of days. And then I went and saw my acting coach on a Saturday morning. She helped me film them all. And we got the other 3 scenes filmed in about an hour, so once I was really prepared, I find if I've got some time to really prepare and really I'm really confident in what I'm doing in the scene and the choices that I'm making, then when I go to film it, I can kind of bang them out quickly because I've made my choices and then I just have to capture it. So that kind of took maybe 5 days overall to get those 4 scenes done and submitted. But the last time I had a commercial audition last week, I learned it, filmed it, and sent it in within an hour because that's all the time I had. I was working, I had a meeting in the morning and a meeting in the afternoon that I couldn't move. So I made some notes and then I was like, okay, I've got an hour to get this done. Let's go. And kind of figured it out. But I know what you mean. I find that you can really get into a trap. You want it to be perfect. Yeah. So you start
so that
filming.
You get the job.
Yeah.
And you're like, you want the job. Yeah. So you start filming and you're like, oh, that wasn't perfect. Okay, I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to do another one. And then next thing you know, you've done like 30 takes. Yeah. And it's like so exhausting. So I've been trying to do a bit more of what I said, trying to really, really prepare before I start filming anything.
Right.
And then once I start filming, try to do as few takes as possible. And then it's easier on you because you only have to watch yourself. You can maybe you've got 3 takes to watch and you're like, great, this is the one, and you're done, versus having to watch yourself do 30 different takes. Yeah. And then you're like, they're all the same. I'm terrible. I look weird. Your brain goes to all these places. So I don't know. Do you feel like that when you look, but you watch your self tapes back and there's too many takes? Oh, yeah, and then you're definitely. Just like,
Definitely. There's little things, it's like what am I doing with my eyes in that one and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's the small things. You're like, why did I look over there? Like, why did I move my arm like that? That's so weird.
Yeah.
Well, you did kind of just answer the question then. When you're doing those little short videos, does someone read with you?
Yeah. So most of the time, yes. It's really good. It's really important to have someone read the other characters' lines because so much of acting is reacting to, right? So, and a big part of what the casting directors are looking for when they watch your audition isn't just how do you say the lines, it's also what do you do in between the lines?
Yeah.
How do you react to what the other person said, or what are the thoughts that you're thinking as the character? So I always have somebody read the other lines. And it's often, as I said, it's often my husband because we can film at night or whatever. And if I need to do another take, I'm not concerned about, if it was sometimes people will have other friends or other actors do it, but I always find that makes me feel a little pressured because I don't want to take too much of their time. So then I rush myself a bit. But my husband is very patient, and he's actually a very good reader, which is very convenient for me. He's like he's just lives here. So it's easy to like, come on, I need you to do a scene.
I take it he's not an actor himself.
He's not, no. So that's the only thing, is that sometimes if it's especially something like a comedy where you need to have a little bit of comic timing with the other person, that's when sometimes I go to my acting coach or I go to another actor to help, because they have a bit more, they just have more training around what is in a comedy. How does the timing and the banter work? So sometimes I'll get help from someone, especially I find my acting coach is great because then she can also kind of guide me on the scene or give me some suggestions as well and kind of help me continue to learn. But I have to be honest, this week I cheated, and it was for a commercial audition, and there was a line that was supposed to be said before I said my lines, but my husband was at work and I only had this hour to shoot it. So finding someone else who was going to be available at that exact time that I could FaceTime it was going to be tough. So I recorded myself on my phone saying the other line. And then I played the recording and timed it so that I could just play off of my own voice saying the other character. So I don't recommend it, and I don't do that very often. I mean, I would never do it for an actual scene, but for a commercial tape, when it was something very simple, I kind of found a workaround there.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, how do you learn your lines on scripts? What's your
secret?
That's a great question. I find that honestly, repetition, just saying it over and over again. And usually what I do is let's say I'm looking at a scene, I'll start with one line. I'll repeat that line a million times. I'll try saying it in different ways too. So sometimes I'll say it with no emotion, then I'll say it with the emotion of the scene, and then maybe I'll sing it, and then I'll do it with a funny voice or something, just to kind of not only learn the lines, but know that I can say them in different ways without it throwing me off. Because of course, as soon as you start adding the emotion of a scene, sometimes the lines go at your head. So I kind of like to do that. And then once I feel like I've nailed that line, I'll go to the next line, do the same thing with that, but then I'll go back to the first line again and repeat them in a row. And then I'll do the third line. And once I feel like I've got that, I'll go the first line, second line, third line, and just keep going back to the top and reading them through in a row so that you keep going back to the ones you've already learned. And I find I have this app on my phone now where you can record your lines and the other person's lines and play it back. And so I've been using that a lot too recently, to record the other person's lines so that I can practice mine and then hear theirs and then practice my next line, responding. Just so that I also get familiar a little bit with what is driving my lines. Like, what did the other person say? And exactly. And so it's not because I want to, of course, once you go into a scene, you want to be a little bit in the moment, and you're trying to create the effect that you're hearing this other person speak for the very first time. But for me, it's helpful. And once I go into the scene, I can forget what the other person's going to say and just try to live in the moment of the scene. But as I learn my lines, it is helpful for me to know, when does the other person's line end? So when do I come in? Like, what's my cue? What did they say? Because sometimes hearing also what the other person says, I'll have been running these lines for 3 days, and on the third day, I'll hear what the other person said in my recording as I practice and go, oh, that is why I'm so mad, because when he says this, that word, it brings up a little bit. It will spark some ideas. So that's kind of my process.
It's kind of similar to what I was doing, but less professional, because I was kind of winging it. I was like, last year when I started to try and act, it was like a midlife crisis almost. I'm 32 now. And I thought, you know what? I like drama in school. I'm going to start acting. And I applied for a few movies, and then I got a few scripts, and then I'd record myself doing my script, and then record myself also doing their script, and then I'd be listening to the whole thing while I'm going for a walk, so I get used to what they're saying so that I know when to come in. and I was kind of just winging it because I've never done acting before.
Yeah, you're like trying.
From
to
what
come
you
up
said,
with a
it seems like I was on the right course.
I was gonna say, you for your first kind of go at it, you nailed it. It's perfect. Yeah. And it's actually really smart of you to listen to it while you're going on a walk too, because something I always tell my students as well is that if you learn your lines sitting down, because that's kind of a lot of people's first instinct is to sit down with the script.
Yeah.
But what sort of happens is that if you learn your lines in like a sedentary position, when you get up and you start adding in the emotion, you start adding in blocking and walking around and doing all of the things you've got to do, your lines kind of go out of your head. So exactly, there's all kinds of distractions and all kinds of other things you're thinking about. But if you can learn your lines and kind of get it in your body, like you move around, you've walked while you've said them, you've done the dishes, you've acted it out with emotions, like you're more likely to actually remember those lines once you're on set or on stage and you actually have all those other distractions coming at you. So again, you hit the nail on the head. You just go out, learn while you're moving around, or I like to pace around my room.
So what kind of job would you like to do? Is it action, comedy, horror, or all of the above?
Well, I will say all of the above because I love it all, and I like to have variety. Like something I like about this career is that you're always kind of doing something different. But if I had to pick one thing, that was my favorite. I love comedy.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I love making people laugh. Like there is no better feeling than being on stage or being on set and doing something, and you're in a scene and it makes people laugh. Is like the best feeling. And it's so much fun. Like you get to just do wild, wacky stuff in comedy. Yeah. That's like super, it's fun to shoot it and it's fun to rehearse it as well. So if I had to pick one, comedy was my favorite, but I will take anything.
Steve'd like to be a Viking, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I love it.
I feel like you've got like a good beard.
Yeah, the beard for it. Does he shave me hair off a bit?
Yeah, exactly. That would be cool. I think it would be very fun to do any show like that, like Vikings or even like medieval stuff or fantasy or anything with action. I think would be so much fun. Or like Marvel. I would love to do a Marvel movie where you kind of get to do comedy and drama and action and fighting, like everything in one. It'd be fun.
Have you done any historical acting, whether it be on stage or film?
Oh yeah, yes, I did quite a bit of Shakespeare when I was both in theater school and out of school. One of the first things I did was actually like a workshop production of Romeo and Juliet. I did the Comedy of Errors in school, and even in high school I was in a bunch of Shakespeare stuff too. So I actually really love doing Shakespeare, and have auditioned actually for we have a Stratford Festival here is one of our biggest theater companies, and they do Shakespeare every year, and I got to audition for them last year and do a Shakespeare monologue. So that's the most historical kind of work that I've gone to do. I obviously love the contemporary things, but I do have a spot in my heart for Shakespeare. I really enjoy the challenge of the language and how technical and verbose the language is, but then like finding that challenge of, okay, yes, there's all this poetry in the language, but how do I make it accessible to an audience watching it now? How do I say this line and make it seem like I came up with it in the moment? It's the first time I've ever said this, and make it clear so that the audience member can understand it. Like one of the most fun projects I ever did was the Comedy of Errors, which is a comedy that is Shakespeare. It's a super funny show. And it was so much fun because it's just a funny show in general, but then we kind of got to do a bit of an interpretation with it and go, okay, this is a joke. What can we do with this joke to make it funny to a modern audience who might not be familiar with the play, and kind of find a way to keep the Shakespearean text, what it is, but find find a way to make it a little more contemporary in the way you speak it, I guess.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy that.
Right.
I've never understood myself all that. For art thou thee.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never understood. And so when you're learning stuff, do you get taught how to understand it and what it means, or just say it?
That's the thing. It's so true. There's so much of the language, both the way they say things like that with the for, thou, all these pronouns that we don't use anymore. So what does that mean? And words that we don't use. So yes, you actually do get a lot of training I got it when I was in theater school, but which is kind of what we colloquially call taking acting in university. I always kind of say theater school, and I'm like, I don't know if everyone knows what I mean by that. But we did do classes in Shakespeare where you got to learn how do you analyze a Shakespearean text. So what's cool is, first of all, if you have, I have the complete works of Shakespeare from when I was in school, in 4 books, like the tragedies, the comedies, the histories, etc. And what's pretty cool is that in most Shakespeare books, first of all, it will translate words for you. So if it's words or phrases that we don't use anymore, there'll be translations. So right. I am big on that. And actually, you can Google it too. There's Shakespeare dictionaries online. So when I take a look at a Shakespeare text, one of the first things I'll do is that I'll go through it and I'll find the words that I just don't know what they mean. And I'll look, if there's not a translation in the book, I'll look it up online and kind of figure that out. Then there's all kinds of stuff you can do as well, like Shakespeare's in iambic pentameter, right? So it's that da 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 rhythm.
Yeah.
And so you do a lot of work around what is the rhythm, and this is getting very technical, but some of the you're falling asleep. Some of the words are unstressed and some of them are stressed. If you have that bum 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 bum, some of the words naturally get more of an emphasis.
Yeah.
So you might go through and go, okay, which words are the stressed words? Because Shakespeare did that intentionally. Those are the words that are the most important in the line. Yeah. So you might circle those and go, okay, the word love in this line is one of the stressed syllables. So I am going to emphasize love rather than the word before it, which maybe would be I or something like that. So that it just little cues like that in the script help you make a bit more sense of it because it's so wordy.
Yeah.
If you can pinpoint, okay, based on the rhythm of the poetry, what are the important words? Okay, and now I've looked up the words that I don't know what they mean. I understand those. I've figured out what words should be emphasized. And then there's even some really cool stuff in the text where most of the time it falls into that rhythm where it's 5 da-das. Right? 5 little pairs of beats. But sometimes there's 13, and sometimes there's 12, and sometimes there's 9. And often, if you look at those passages in the text that are too long or too short, it's some moment where the character is having an emotional revelation, or they're struggling with something, or there's some emotional reason in the text why it's not following the pattern. Something is out of order. And so there's little cues like that too that you can use in your performance. You can go, okay, this line has too many beats. It's almost like they've got too much to say. They've got too much running through their head. Okay, that might give me a little bit of an indication of how I can say this or what I can do with it in the performance. So I find things like that, they really taught us a lot about that in school. And those are kind of the techniques that I use to try to better understand what is happening here in this monologue, or what am I saying here? And then I just try to find ways that as an actor, okay, so basically what they're saying is this. So sometimes I'll try to translate it. How would I say that now as Sarah in modern language? And then I kind of try to take the way that I say it in modern day and sort of bring that to the way I say it in the Shakespeare text, so that, I always find that if I go and see a Shakespeare show, I don't necessarily understand every word, but it's a good show when even if you don't understand every word, you understand what they meant or the gist, right? Because the intention of the actor is so clear that maybe you didn't know what wherefore meant, but the way they say it, what they meant, that's what I try to do when I'm analyzing Shakespeare and performing it. I do my best.
I don't know if it's ever been done, but I think it'd be cool to do, I don't know, The Tempest or Romeo and Juliet or whatever, and bring the language of it up to date to modern how we speak now, and to see what the difference would be.
It would be really cool. I feel like, I'm trying to think of something I've seen where they've done that. I know that they've made like sometimes they'll do like Romeo and Juliet.
All right, Romeo and
They've
Juliet.
Done, they have like a modern movie version and whatnot, but a lot of the other plays, other than that one, you don't get to see that sort of modern interpretation as much, which would be it would be really cool.
So would that be considered its own language?
Well, it's old English, isn't it?
Yeah.
Classed as old English.
Right.
Yeah, so exactly. And actually it's kind of cool. Sometimes you're reading a play and like a Shakespeare play, and there's words in there that we actually do use, or expressions, but they're like Shakespeare invented that expression and we still say it, but that's the first time it was ever used, which is kind of cool. But it feels like another language sometimes when they get a bunch of words in a row where you're like, I don't know anything that you're saying in this sentence. Can we cut this one? No? Okay.
So you being a teacher, what would your take be on films with nudity and stuff like that? Because
interesting.
Yeah, because let's say Merv will come to you and say, we've got a big part for you, but there's a nude scene. With you being a teacher, it's kind of hard, isn't it, to accept a big job like that?
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I kind of have like two takes on that. One is that in my acting work, I don't tend to worry too much about the content of my acting work, worrying about students seeing it, because they know I'm a professional actor.
Right.
And so hopefully their parents are helping them pick what they're allowed to watch. And so hopefully they know, like even Pink is In, right? Pink is In has some content that's a little bit mature in some of the jokes that are made and whatnot. And so, but I don't worry about that too much, because again, they know I'm a professional actor. Hopefully they're only watching stuff that is appropriate for them to be watching. So if there's swearing or there's, mature content, like hopefully their parents didn't let them watch that. They can watch it when they're older. So I don't let my teaching work affect really what I choose to do in my acting work. I'm more cautious about what I do, like personally, in the stuff that I post about. I don't put swearing in my posts that I make as Sarah, but I don't worry about that so much in my acting work. Now, me as Sarah choosing what I do in my acting work, I still have some, things that I don't like to do in terms of nudity. I have never been yet in a situation where I had to make a choice about that. I kind of have talked to my agent about it and been like, completely full nudity is just a no.
No,
regardless. But I would potentially be open to talking about it.
Yeah.
Depending on the role. I think what makes a big difference for me is like, how necessary is it to the plot? Because sometimes I watch shows and something that really bothers me is when there's a lot of nudity, particularly of women, that is gratuitous. Like it's not necessary. And that always makes me feel a little uneasy, especially if the only people in the show that are nude are the women, and it's always the women. Like I start to have some feelings about that. So I think it would just depend on the project and what type of nudity and for how long, and is it needed for the plot, or is there a way to work around it? Like, and is there going to be an intimacy coordinator? Like nowadays we have intimacy coordinators who are so brilliant and who are on set and on stage to help choreograph these things, they have all these like amazing modesty garments that you can wear so that you're not really naked, but it looks like, if I knew that there was a qualified intimacy coordinator on set who was going to help make sure this was a safe thing to do, that would be a big green flag for me in a project, where if they were like, no, we're just going to wing it, I'd be like, I don't think we're going to be doing that. So it kind of in that regard, it kind of depends on the situation.
Yeah, because I've seen a movie lately it was this female that was in a shower, but it was only the back of her that you seen her. So that's not too bad, but that's also classed as nudity. So
it is. It's true. That's the thing, right? Like it can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah.
So if it was something like that,
yeah,
that's different than being like, you need to be completely naked. It's true. It kind of, and it, this is why it's great to have an agent. It's great that the industry is changing so much to be mindful of these things, that intimacy coordinators now are a role on set. And so then you can kind of negotiate these things. And I've got people who can help me decide, do we want to go ahead with this? Or do we want to say, Sarah's not going to do this, but she'll do this. Does that work for you? And then it goes in the contract, and there's like kind of protection around that.
Right.
So how would you feel then? Because I know it's happened in the past, is they turn around and say, all right, we'll give you an extra so many dollars to do what we're asking you to do.
Yeah, it's true. You do hear about stuff like that happening. I think it kind of depends on the situation. Like if it was a situation that I was not feeling very safe in, or it felt this is gratuitous, or it's too much, or I'm not feeling like they're respecting my boundaries, like, and I can't understand why. And they were like, we'll give you more money. Like the money is not going to sway me to do something that is uncomfortable. Yeah. If it was a situation where I was already feeling like, I'm okay with this within certain parameters and whatnot. Again, I don't think the money would be what would sway me to do it. It would be more around, we'll pay a little bit more so that we can have an extra intimacy coordinator who can help you with the boundaries you've set, and we can work around that. Like it's more those kinds of things that would be like, okay, you know what, you've convinced me, I'm good with that. But if it was just pure money and it was something that I was not feeling good about,
like basic instinct
3. So have you ever been in a kiss scene with another man, and if so, how does your husband feel about it?
Yes, that's so funny. I have actually. Now that I think about it, all the scenes I've done with kisses have been before I was married.
Right.
So he was not around. I did do a play when we were together where I had a boyfriend in the show, but we were breaking up. So it was like kind of intimate, but we actually never kissed in the show.
Right.
So I'm just thinking about that. But my husband is very supportive of my career and very, really gets it, like he really understands that what I'm doing is scripted and choreographed and not
So it's
real.
not classed as cheating then?
Yeah, no. Exactly.
See, if my partner was kissing on a set, I'd be like, I'd want her to be a bad actor. So that I know she's acting.
It's so true. He actually asked me the other day, because I think we were watching a show together, and I said something like, the chemistry between these two actors is like really, really good. And he actually asked me, he said, does that mean that their chemistry in real life is good? Like, or is that something that you can fake?
That's what I go through my mind.
Right? Like he was kind of asking me, like he was kidding, because again, he's not he's not a very he's such a lovely person. He's not a very overly jealous person either. It's just not, he's very secure. So he's just, it's not like he's like really worried, but he did kind of say, is that something that you can fake? Or like, if I watch something that you're in one day and you and the guy have really good chemistry, like, is it real? Like he was kind of asking me. I was like, oh no, so you can fake it. Like it can be real. Like actors get together all the time. It can be, but you can fake it. That stuff. First of all, if you're doing any sort of kissing, any sort of physical intimacy, like it is choreographed within an inch of its life.
Yeah.
You know what direction you're facing when, and how you're kissing them, and which way are your eyes going, and when are you breathing, like all of that stuff it's like choreography, like dancing, right? Like it's so choreographed. And chemistry wise, like we get, like in class, we work on like, how do you develop chemistry with someone that like maybe you hate them, but you still have to develop chemistry with that person. And there's tricks to doing that. Like you find something about the person that you really do like and think is attractive, and you focus on that, and then you kind of build that chemistry and into the fake relationship, but it's not real. So we did have a little chat about that.
You don't really think about that when you're watching it on film or television, about that behind the scenes. There has been some choreography done, because there's some shows out there that are really near the knuckle when it comes to intimacy, and you think, how do their partners deal with this? But then you don't realize that there has been choreography behind it for weeks,
Totally. It's so true. They're so good at making it look like it's not choreographed, but little do you know, they've got a big beach ball in between their bodies so that they're not actually touching. They do things like that. So you're like, the kind of, if you know that, it kind of takes you out of the romance of the scene. But it's true. It's really choreographed. Like the one time that in a stage play, it was actually the Comedy of Errors, and my love interest in the play, we had this whole moment where we had to like fall in love and then run and kiss each other. And it was so choreographed because we were timing out, okay, on what line are you going to start running? And then how hard do you need to run? Because the first time we ran, we kind of like smashed. And so we were like, okay, you can't run that fast. We kind of have to run and then stop. Okay, and then whose arm is going to go where? And what, so it, even in stage, like you nail these things down to a set choreography, and then you execute it.
So other than theatre, have you got any movies or series coming up?
No, actually, it's been kind of a period of auditioning at the moment, actually. Right. And hopefully more Pink is in to come. I know that they're kind of working on that, and we've got seems like we're getting maybe some good news from the US distributor. So I'm hoping that maybe we'll get to do that again soon. But it's mostly been auditioning this year so far. And actually it's been a bit of a slow start to the year for everybody, because first of all, the Writers Guild in Hollywood is on strike, which
again
does actually kind of trickle back into our industry in Canada as well. And we've noticed that because there was potential for this strike for months, everything is kind of slowed down. And I think a lot of actors right now have been feeling like barely auditioning for anything, like what is going on? But we're all in the same boat. And so I don't know exactly what that's all about, but it's been kind of a slow start to the year. And then we're also in a union dispute over commercials too, that in Canada, that's been going on for over a year. The ad agencies were trying to cut the wages on our agreement, and our union actor was basically like, this is unacceptable, we're not going to sign this deal. And they were like, fine, we'll just only make non-union commercials and we'll lock all of the union actors out. So union actors, we haven't been able to audition for most commercials in over a year, which has been like such a tough hit financially for all of us and for the industry. So it's just been a tough couple months, honestly. Like as actors, we're just like, there's no commercials, there's no film and TV. Like, what is going on? I've had a few good commercial auditions in the last couple of weeks, which is why I've been super busy. So that I'm like so grateful, because I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen here.
Yeah. So what type of TV commercials have you done yourself?
I've done a few. The most recent one that I did was for Nature's Heart granola bars. And this is the one, it actually aired all over Canada. And so this is the commercial I did that I had the most people texting me, being like, I just saw you on TV.
And do you like granola bars?
She can't answer that. She'd have to kill you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm contractually obligated.
You got a box full of them around the back of there, haven't you?
Yeah, they're all over there. Yeah, that was the most recent one that I did. That was a really fun one. And then I also did one that was for monster.com, like the job hunting site.
Oh, I thought it was energy drink.
Oh yeah, different Monster. Yeah, the Monster, that's the job search website. Right. And that one aired in Europe, I think. And I never saw it here, but I know that it aired, and I think it had aired in Europe. And then I did one for Holiday Inn, the hotels before that. So yeah, a couple of, and that one was also on some channel. So again, I remember teaching, I was at the studio, and one of my students, the student who I didn't know very well either, like she was from a different group, and she just comes up with her phone and she goes, is this you? It was like a screen capture of my face in that commercial zoomed in. And I was like, yeah, that is me. Did you saw that commercial on TV? She was like, yeah. And then she like walked away. I was like, okay. Glad that people are seeing it. Awesome.
Yeah. So when you're on set, Pink is in, for example.
Yeah.
Do you get to improvise or ad lib as you're recording? And there's a second part to this question. because me and Steve discussed something here.
Oh, got it. Okay. So I'll answer part one. Sometimes, yes. It kind of depends on the scene, right?
Yep.
Like sometimes the way the scene is scripted, it's really important that it's as written, maybe for timing, or there's information that needs to be given that needs to come out a certain way. Like, and I think truthfully, it also probably depends on the show that you're on, like how tight they are about the script that's written and how much they are okay. Like the writers and the team is okay with improv and how much they aren't. Pink is in, it kind of depends. Like sometimes we are just really sticking to what's written, especially for that comic timing. But actually, I have a couple of examples of times we did do some improv. And one of them is upcoming in the season that the episodes that you don't have yet that you'll be seeing in June. Okay. And you wouldn't know it was improv based on the way that it was cut together. But the team had decided, you know what, it actually might be helpful if we had a scene where we talk about a couple pieces of information that will help things make sense later. And I can't quite remember what made them decide to do that, but we did do a little bit of improv on the day. They were like, great, we're just going to take the 5 of you who are in the scene. We'll go into another room for a second. These are the pieces of information that we want to add to the scene. Do a little improv to figure out what that would look like. And then we kind of improv together. Okay. Came up with a rough idea, and then we went on set and we filmed it, still improving, but within some parameters.
Yeah.
And then that scene made the final cut. So you wouldn't know it was improv, but there was a little bit of improv done there to kind of figure that out. But yeah, what's the second part of your question?
The second part is because we discussed it last time, because we found out that you're the third actor from Pink is In to join our show. We thought maybe you could throw in, if you're doing a season 4, get fact.
Yes, that's so funny. Okay, I'm gonna keep that in mind. I'm gonna see if I can work that in. Well, it's the kind of thing that we would say in the show too. Like, because it's sort of this 80s, it's got that like 80s British humor. So sometimes the jokes do feel, I don't know, it feels like that it would fit that. Like that kind of joke would fit, So I will see what I can do. I can text Kim, the writer. I'll see if we can work that in there.
Yeah. We were saying, because you're the third actor on as well from Pink is In. This is technically Pink is In season 3.
Yeah, exactly. Right here, happening right now. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to get us on.
Pardon?
You'll have to get us on.
Exactly.
As background.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. You should totally. I will. We've had that happen before, where we have people who are connected with the show in some way, or like family or friends who have come and done background. Like Josie, who plays Juice in the show. She had her mom be a background in one of the episodes that you're gonna get in June, where it's like a big scene with like lots of big crowd, and her mom was one of the extras. So I don't know, we might be able to make it happen. You guys can come to Canada.
Brilliant, yeah. We're doing a lot of promotion here for you with these podcasts.
We'll just be walking around on set with Get Fat Cups.
Yeah, exactly. You're just like holding it in the background. Product placement.
Yeah.
Or we could do that. We could send a couple of cups over, and they could be drinking from them in set.
There's also some stuff in the show that are like sponsored things like that.
Product placement.
I can't remember. There was like a drink that they were drinking in the first season.
The beer.
The beer, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was always the same brand. Yeah. And I think that they sponsored us.
Right.
And they put, so I don't know, if you send some mugs, we could probably get them in there.
You weren't sponsored by whipped cream as well, are you?
Pardon?
You weren't sponsored by whipped cream as well, are you? Because on Pink is In, he keeps having whipped cream.
The whipped cream, it's so true. I don't think the whipped cream is a sponsor, but it probably could be at this point. It's true, we use the whipped cream a lot.
Yeah.
That's so true.
There's also a scene where I think it's raining in the cell. It's not raining, but have they done that? Is it the sprinklers?
Right. Okay, so that was actually really cool. There was it was not sprinklers. they made it look like it was sprinklers, but of course we don't have like control over that kind of stuff in the building to be able to really, and once you get wet, it's very challenging to shoot anything else. So what we did that day was actually, we shot the scene, like we did the wide shot and the close-ups and everything with no rain at all. And we just pretended that there was rain. And then the director sort of cued us to when the rain was going to start, because of course we don't have it raining on us to know, oh, now it's raining. So we would shoot it, and then he would kind of call out in the background, which they would cut out, being like, okay, it starts raining. And then we would just act like we'd gotten wet and kind of run away. But then there's one part that actually, I should say, so then they edited in some rain that gets on all of us. But then there is one part that actually was real water. And so just Ruby is the only,
with the umbrella.
Only person with the umbrella. They actually did rig up something that like poured some water down so that we could get that one shot with actual water falling on the umbrella. But we shot that very last so that if Darren got wet or anything else got wet, we didn't have to like wait for everyone to dry off and then retry to shoot all the scenes from before. So that was kind of the last thing we did. So it was sort of a combination of real water and fake water.
I was going to say, because the mics that you have on you, I'm sure they're not waterproof, are they? Oh.
No, they're not. It's true. So that's another thing, is you're kind of trying to time out. Of course, Darren is speaking in that scene, so he needs to be mic'd. So I think, if I remember correctly, they also got that line of Ruby saying that line while mic'd, got to take with that clear audio. Then they can, I don't know if I can't remember now because there was an umbrella, if they still removed the mic. They probably did. But then they can remove it and shoot without it because they actually already have a recording with the clear audio, and then they can, in their editing magic, use the proper audio and without risking the technology. Because it's true, that's the other risk with water. There's a lot of equipment.
Tech. I don't know if it's the same in TV studios as it is in films when they film on set, but do you have to go back and re-record any voice that didn't get picked up properly in the show?
Yeah, actually, I had to do that this time.
Okay.
They call it ADR, so you go back and re-record something that maybe didn't get. It could be for various reasons. Like sometimes it's because whatever they recorded the first time, there was some sort of sound interference, and for some reason they didn't get a clean audio of that one line, so they'll have you come back and record it so that they can edit that in. What happened to me this season was we have the first episode of season 3 is actually a Christmas episode, and there's a part in one scene where I come into the scene singing a little like Christmas song and then start talking. And no one had told me what song to sing. Like it just said in the script, sing a Christmas song. And then no one on set like said anything about it. And so I just like picked something that was kind of easy to sing a line of and have it be recognizable and then like jump in. And I can't remember now what I sang originally, but I came to shoot the rest of the episodes of the season, and Darren comes up to me and says, well, we're going to need you to do some additional like audio because the song you sang is copyrighted and we can't put it on the show. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I should have told you what songs were allowed before, but it was a crazy day on set. We were shooting so many things back to back. We just missed it. And I was like, I probably should have asked before I just started singing a song. So basically what they did was they have this in the scene, they had a shot of me entering that was at quite a distance. So you couldn't quite see the way my lips were moving. You could just tell I was singing, but you couldn't see. So we shot a bunch of stuff for the other episodes that day. And then I stayed a little bit late, and they brought me into kind of a quiet room, and they gave me an approved song that was it didn't have copyright, so I could sing it without a problem. And we basically measured like how long was I singing that other song, like how many seconds was it, and then we kind of timed it, and I recorded the same length of chunk of song of this other song. And then they took that audio and put it in the scene. And you can't tell because I'm at such a distance, but now I'm singing a song that is copyright free. That was kind of my first experience of having to be brought back to do ADR for something. And I was like, oh man, I really messed up singing this copyrighted song, and now I've got to come back.
Well, you don't think of Christmas songs being copyrighted, do you? Because you sing them all the time anyway when you listen to the radio and stuff, so you don't really think of it like that.
Totally. I think that's the thing. It's probably why no one really thought of it in the moment on such a busy day, because a lot of Christmas songs are also super old, right? And sometimes if it's been published for 100 years or something, there is no copyright, like it goes into the public domain or something. So there's a lot of Christmas music. People cover it all the time. You sing it in church, you sing it on the street, so I think we weren't thinking about it until they sat down to actually start editing this, and they're coming up with the music for the show. Our music person is editing everything in, and they're going, oh, yeah, we can't sing that.
So have you done any voiceovers for anything? Any radio, anything like that?
Cartoons?
Yeah.
Good question. I have not. I don't do a ton of voiceover. I do audition for it, and so I'm trying to get better. It's not something I've ever really done very much of. So I've taken like a class to try to learn a little bit more about it. And my agent sends me a fair number of voiceover auditions, and I feel like I've improved a lot. Like now that I'm sending them in, I'm like, okay, I feel like I have a little bit of a better sense of what I'm doing. So hopefully I'll book one of those soon. It's like, would be another great kind of thing to do, but I haven't yet done voiceover, but I did before the pandemic audition for a podcast. It was going to be a radio play, essentially, split into a series over the length of a podcast. And it was sort of like a fantasy podcast series.
Yeah.
And I auditioned. I did actually get a role on that. And it would have been my first voiceover gig. And it was for a character, like a kind of crazy, swashbuckling, like piratey kind of character. It was like a really cool character. And it was the first time I'd really auditioned for and booked like a character for a voiceover job. Yeah. But then when the pandemic hit, the project got put on hold because we couldn't be in person, we couldn't meet and whatnot. And then I don't know what's happening with it now. Like I haven't heard anything from the creators for quite a while. So I think maybe the project has just been like shelved for the moment. But so as you asked me that, I'm like, technically I did book one job, but I never did the job. So does that count?
So, when you don't get the job, how does that affect you? Do you just shrug it off and just go for the next one, or?
Yeah, for me, I take rejection pretty well. Like most of the time, I am pretty good at being like, okay, well, that wasn't it. Go on to the next thing. Especially if you're lucky enough for it to be a time where you're auditioning for quite a few things, it's easier to kind of be like, okay, well, I've got another one due tomorrow, so I'll just worry. You kind of just move on.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I am pretty good at doing that. Like I do have a feeling that the things that are right for me are going to work out. So if this one didn't work out, it wasn't for me for some reason, and there'll be another opportunity. And I've had that happen where maybe one thing didn't work out, but then I got to do something else that turned out to be better for me or whatnot. But sometimes if it's something that I've auditioned for that I am like, I really wanted it hits me a little bit harder. Like I had one, I auditioned for a play in, I guess February. And I had auditioned for the play. It was a self-tape, and then I actually got a call back. And so I got to come back in person in like a smaller group because they had liked my audition. I got to come back again. And I did like a really good callback. Like, sometimes you just know that you nailed it. And I knew I nailed it. And I thought I really had a shot at it. And it would have been like, it's a play that I've loved for a long time.
Yeah.
And what was the worst was not only did I not get, like, they never responded.
Yeah, they never do that.
You just never hear. It's the worst. So, like, I think a full month went by, and I'm going, could I still have a shot, or like, have they cast? And then finally, about a month later, they actually emailed and were like, we've gone another direction. And I was like, that one, it took me a couple of days to recover from that one. I was like, it hurt my heart, because not only did I love the play, but they'd called me back. Like I was even closer to getting it, I was like, I was in the running. So that one hurt. So it kind of depends a little bit on, I would say overall, most of the time I'm pretty capable of being like, okay, like on to the next thing. But sometimes there's those ones that just like, it's really hard. And I think honestly, that's what I'm trying to learn now is that sometimes you just need to like feel that and be like, oh, that hurt, that one. And you just need to take a couple of days to like be sad about it.
Yeah.
And then you'll bounce back, you know. But if you kind of, sometimes it's better to just like let the feelings hit you and sort of, you know, just process it and be like, that sucked. I was close to that one. I did a good audition. I didn't get it. And this is a bad feeling. This is hard. And then kind of just be kind to yourself for a couple of days and then be like, okay, time to get back in the saddle here and stop feeling sorry for myself and, you know, move on to the next thing.
Because I actually did a self-tape in December where I got the interview and everything. And then they said they'll be recording in May if you get it. We're in May now. I've still got a chance.
You're like, well, I haven't heard a no. So
it's not the end of May yet.
The not hearing is so terrible. I feel like I would much rather just be told no. No, I can just roll with that. I'm like, great. I didn't get it. Moving on. But when you just don't hear,
you're left in limbo, aren't you?
Yeah, you're in limbo, and you can't help but feel like it might be a yes. So you are hopeful. Like you can't stop still being hopeful. Like you're saying, you're like, it's May. Haven't heard no yet. You know it's gonna happen.
No news is good news, as they say.
That's the thing, right?
So, dead or alive, who would be the ultimate actor or actress you'd love to work with?
Ooh.
I'll let you have two.
I would dead or alive. I would love to work with Emma Thompson.
Yeah.
I think she's amazing. And she's amazing in everything that she's in, whether
she's very adaptable.
Very adaptable. And I just think she'd be someone you could learn so much from, you know, like has had such an incredibly long career in theater and film, right? And it does both well. And there's something about her that's so like, she can just be so like direct and to the, like she's and strong and like to the point. And then, but then you see her in like Sense and Sensibility and like a period piece, and she's like this love interest. It's just like she can do it all. So yeah, she would probably be my top choice.
Didn't she recently do a nude film?
Yes.
Yeah, she did.
She did.
So was she hired a escort, or was it?
Yeah. Yes. It was something Leo Grand. I think
yeah.
And yes,
it's good.
It was about her hiring an escort to like learn, you know, try to like have some sort of experience. Like, and he was a lot younger than her. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but you're right. I forgot about that coming out. I need to go see that.
See, I seen that nude scene and I was like, you go, girl. Body positivity.
Yes! So true. Like, it's so nice to see. You're right. Like, to see these. It's nice to see things where, like, older women, putting quotes around that, women are, like, getting to do these excellent, like, complex, interesting roles.
Yeah.
And they're still, you know, they're not just becoming, like, the old grandmother, you know, like, interesting things like this film. Because I think for so long, one of the challenges for women in film and television is it's like you hit a certain age and like no one cares about you anymore. It's like you're 40 and everyone's like, oh, they're old, you know, and you're like, I am only 40. I have all this life to live and all this like great acting ability, but there's not always roles, good roles, I should say, written for women who are like older than 30. So it's just, I feel that too. Anytime I see women like her doing like cool, empowering work like that, I'm like, yes. Thank you. Like,
I mean, quite a few of them have done that in the careers, haven't they? Later on in the careers, Helen Mirren, she's probably one of the most famous for doing that.
Totally.
Jodie Foster did it.
Yep.
In Nell, and there's another one, I can't remember the name. She was in Twister, and she did it as well. What's her name?
I can't remember.
Anyway, she did it. That actress.
She also did it. That one. It's so true. There's like a few women who are kind of like paving the way in that kind of work. Yeah.
Right.
So does that mean in about 30 or 40 years' time we can expect to see you?
Empowering
women.
Empowering women. Let's hope. Like I want to act for a long time. Like I want to be, you know, people will say, like, people talk about retirement a lot, right? Like people will be like, oh, I'm just counting down until I retire. Like a lot of people feel that, but I would love to be, you know, like I think about one of like our Canadian icons, Christopher Plummer, who is, you know, internationally like a star, but Canadian represent. Like he was performing. He was still in his 80s, right? Like he was incredible. So I would love to have that kind of career where I'm like, I am 80 and I'm still going strong. And, you know, if it's what you love, I don't really foresee myself finding a time where I don't want to do it. You just want to be making so much money that you can, you know, afford to take a break and go on vacation and then come back and do whatever project you want whenever you want.
Yeah. That'll happen soon with our podcast, won't it?
It will, yeah.
At the minute, we're at minus.
Yeah.
Yeah, any second now.
Costing a fortune. Well, are you ready to play Fact or Reset?
I am, yes. I've been preparing for this moment.
No one has been able to beat Darren Stewart-Jones.
That was very impressive. And he didn't even hesitate. Like when he was answering, he was like, it was like he knew the answer. It was like, that was very impressive.
So this is all on you.
Yeah.
No pressure.
To go on.
Okay, and Trish is second on the leaderboard. Okay,
yeah.
I feel I'm just gonna try to. My goal is to just maybe make 4. Like if I can just beat Trish, I can text her later and say I beat you.
Let's get the jingle up.
Stand clear.
It's Fact or Reset.
So the aim of the game is I say a fact. If you think it's a fact, you say fact. If you think I've made it up, you just say reset. And you keep going until you're on the board. So if you get the first one wrong, you still go.
Oh, I get to go. Okay, I was worried about that.
So you guarantee to be on the board with 1 point at least. Right, so we start. A shark has a blowhole like a whale.
Reset.
Yep, reset. You're on the board.
You're on the board. Here we go. And we're off.
There we go. Yeah.
The longest recorded flight of a chicken is 13 seconds.
Fact.
Yep, you're on to. So guaranteed third place so far.
Okay, I can work with that.
The toenail of your little toe is called the spungle.
Oh. So random.
Oh, that's spungle.
Yeah.
Bungle.
Okay.
Reset.
Yeah.
Wow, here we go. Oh, ooh.
Oh, okay.
That's 3.
Yeah, that's 3.
That's 3. Ooh, okay.
The real name for a hashtag is an octothorpe.
Ooh, a hashtag. I'm going to say fact.
Yeah, well done.
4.
Second place.
Yeah. Going for Darren here.
Okay, here we go.
An ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain.
Fact.
Yeah, well done.
Oh.
Join first.
Oh my gosh. I did not think
This
he was
one
going
to
so
beat
well.
Darren. A turtle can change its shell.
Reset.
Reset, well done. On top of the board.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Flies got their name from a man who discovered them in Italy called Salvador Fly.
Reset.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
So that's 7.
That's 6.
It's 7, wasn't it?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. Sorry,
7,
my fault.
yeah.
Yes, 7.
A group of frogs is called an army.
Huh. Fact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
A group of rhinos is called a crash.
Ooh. I'm going to say reset.
No. That's the end of that.
That's true.
But you broke the record there.
you smashed the top spot there.
Yeah.
What was that? How many was that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't even think I've got that number.
Right, you have to get on to Darren now and text him.
Yeah.
Loser!
I'm a winner.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that. I was nervous. I was like, I feel like I don't know a lot of facts, so it was going to be a lot of guesswork.
Yeah.
So I didn't know how well that was going to go.
That was brilliant.
Well done.
I've got a lot of moving around to do now.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to.
I had to move every one of them.
You need to get one of those things that they have. That's like where you slide the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
things in and out.
There's magnets. That'd be easier.
Yeah. Yes, magnets. Exactly.
Right. Have you got any more questions before?
I haven't, no.
No.
I'm all done.
I'm all done myself. I've got some questions wrote down, but I don't know if I've asked them already.
Those were good questions that you asked. Like, there was some good ones there. Some stuff
I
that.
tell you what, I would like, if possible, because Trish did it for me. I would like, if possible, a digitally signed picture.
Oh yeah, yes. I heard you guys doing that in an episode. Yes, I can. I will figure. I don't have like pink as in little posters like she had printed, but I can figure something out.
And we will happily return the favour.
Yeah, please do. Actually, can I take a picture of us like?
Of course you can.
I wanted to commemorate the moment. I might make a TikTok.
Hang on a sec. Get the mug.
Oh.
Oh yeah, hold your mugs. Okay, it's a little. My camera quality isn't great. It's a little. Right, so hold it up a little bit. Nice. That's perfect. Oh wait, hold on. I was recording. I recorded so I took a picture. Wait. Oh, hold up. Oh, that's great. Perfect. Okay, nailed it.
Perfect.
I was gonna say, you guys, I've been listening to the couple episodes where you spoke with Darren and with Trish, and you both. I've really enjoyed listening to the podcast. You have a very nice way of bantering between the two of you, and
Thank
you
you.
both have really great laughs. So I've been listening. And I'll be like doing the dishes or something. I find myself kind of like smiling and laughing along with you because you're very natural. So it feels like I'm in the room with you as well.
Yeah.
You know? It's very fun. So I really like what you're doing with the podcast.
Well,
Thank you very
I have
much.
a tendency to laugh at my own jokes, and I don't know if that's annoying. So that's again.
I
don't know why.
It isn't like it's so fun. It's fun to hear other people have fun.
Yeah.
So sometimes even when you watch TV or things like that, when you can tell that people were really genuinely enjoying what they were doing, it is very fun as the listener. So no, it's not annoying. It's fun. It's nice.
Well, they used to have signs, didn't they? That you say laugh, and then it will, just so you knew when to laugh.
We'll have to start doing that with our guests. When they're on the camera, they would just
Or
hold
the
their finger up,
billboard.
right, laugh.
Yeah.
Laugh now.
Exactly. Or applause.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah, it's been great.
And don't forget to get that plug when you do plug in.
Yeah.
In fact.
I'm gonna work on that. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, it's been great chatting with you. Thank you very much.
It's been brilliant.
You too. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye
You
now.
too. Bye.